So is Powell out as Fed chair after the vintage Trump tirade earlier today? Let's get into it with our daily and weekly SPY analysis. It is Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Again, no Friday video tomorrow. Actually, there will be one, but it'll be a little special update to fill the time. Hope everybody has a good Easter. Again, if you like the content, please consider giving me a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. I appreciate it. Small creators have an uphill battle here, and we're trying to get to 5K subscribers. We're very close now. I think we're like less than 30 or so away. But anyways, guys, let's get into it here today. Interesting day here. Standard options X procedure, though. Spiders flat on the day. I talked about this yesterday. I said, look, this is pretty contrived. This sells a raid. It's not risk off, and we'll probably close flat to positive tomorrow, and that's where we did. And I expected us to stay around that 5,300 handle, although we did back off of it just a little bit by the end of the day. So overall, kind of a pedestrian move. Jerome Powell, though, under a lot of pressure here. So yesterday we talked about this, he was like as hawkish as I've seen him since like Jackson Hole 2022. And today Trump said, no, you're not going to do that to me. I'm, not going to one up me, especially in a pissing match. But yeah, I mean, look at that. Walter Bloomberg is working overtime here today. Powell is terrible. Trump, interest rates should be down now. This was my favorite one. Federal Reserve, you are not very smart people. He was basically really upset that the ECB cut again, seventh time this year, in fact. And Trump and Powell yesterday was very, quite hawkish, honestly. And I mean, you can read through all of them if you want. It's actually quite hilarious, but. Nonetheless, I think there was poly market odds as well that were going up for him being, Powell being out this year. Look, I mean, he's not going to get rid of him just like that. I did think it was funny that the market was totally unbothered by any of this. Like that, this is talk that should really spook the market, but that just goes to show and it provides the evidence that we've talked about lately. Dealers are back; they have control of the tape right now, and volatility is much more pinned than normal, or at least than not normal. It is a more normalized market, but lately it's more pinned, right? We talked about the Russell 2000 kind of diverging from the NQ and the Nasdaq 100. Is that a sign of dispersion? Yeah, I think it is. And funny enough, a little bit of sign here for the bulls. What was the only index this week that closed green? Spiders were down, Qs were down, even the Dow was down. But the Russell, the riskiest of all, was green on the week. So a little bit of a risk on signal here to close the week. So that's a good sign there for bulls. But Powell here, again, the Fed's not political or whatever, but I know he cut 2 times right in front of an election, and it's not like there were emergency cuts or anything like a crisis going on. But now he's kind of stonewalling, and so they're going back and forth here. There's been some bets on who's going to replace him. My money could be on, this may be a dark horse at this point, but it's been floated out. And this man's been selling shares of his company recently, and a lot of people are trying to figure out why. Oh, is he thinking of recession? But I'm thinking about Jamie Dimon. So I know he's talked about having a government job, just like every ex-banker, right? Could be a possibility here, but he was selling here and he sold at the highs. Maybe that's something maybe there's something to that. Again, like, just speculation here, but very interesting stuff going on. As for the market here, quiet 10 day. We kind of expected this. Again, we had to sell signal on Tuesday. We figured we'd be down yesterday, and no follow through today. So flat market. That said, we will have some, I think we could see some more chops, maybe even some selling over the next week or so. I don't think it'll be structurally detrimental. But yeah, I think we got a little bit more time on the clock here before this market's ready to try to make a move into the summer. I think there's still too much resistance here at 5,500. The only thing that would change that, and it's possible, Trump has been running his mouth like big time lately. Talking about China. Heck, Jensen Huang was there, and he's a big tech leader, right? He was there this morning. But who knows? Maybe they get something done over the weekend. If that happens, then I could maybe see it going through that. But that's the only thing I think that would be powerful enough to break 55 right now. Otherwise, I think you need more backing and filling. And I think if we did break through 55, you'd also see a sharp pullback there off of that. But for bulls here to break this and have legs to climb back up to 57, 58, 59, etc., you're going to need a base. And I think that is more than a week. That said, minor little buy signal here into Monday. So that's just a little daily chart signal for me, proprietary signal. Anyway, outside of that, week was flat, triple Qs, down 12 cents. Nothing really doing there. So again, kind of quiet action. A lot of big tech under pressure. Mag 7 was weak again. Eli Lilly strong. By the way, Netflix, speaking of tech, Netflix, yeah, so I kind of figured that would pin to 1,000. So they just released earnings. No idea what the numbers were, but it looks like it's going up to 1,000, at least for now. We'll see where it settles. But a good little bit there. And by the way, UNH absolutely slaughtered. I warned everybody not to touch this morning. There was, I don't have it in front of me. I can't show you what it looked like pre-market as far as the dealer flow, but just trust me when I say there was no hedges past 500 for earnings. The market was not pricing this move in at all. So there was serious blowout on UNH. That said, it's still kind of just monthly consolidation. But yeah, this thing's at risk. The only positive, it didn't make a new low. But that looks like a broken name right now. Anyway, Russell 2000 here. Again, finishing up 1% on the day and finished up over 1% on the week. And Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ essentially having, kind of a pause week after a big outside move, a historic week last week. So heavy volume, not going to go up in a straight line. And that's really it. Semis still under pressure here. NVIDIA and AMD really dragging the market down right now. TSM managed to scratch out a 15-cent gain after earnings. It was up a lot more earlier. It came back in pretty sharply by the end of the day. ASML still down on the week as well. IGV held up a little bit here. Again, down 35 cents. Flat week for the most part here. But this still leads the semis, right? And again, if these guys had bigger market caps, tech would be down a lot less. But all this air is coming out of NVIDIA right now, which is part of concentration risk, which is something I talked about at the beginning of the year. But I mean, look at this pattern here on IGV. This is nice and tight, bull kind of pennant right there. And semis, while you still have the inside bar, I mean, it's sloppy. It's just it's not tight at all. So a lot of problems with these chip stocks right now. Transports, again, up 2.4. Still got the inside bar, but just consolidating. As far as interest rates are concerned, we were higher today, but I do want to say right now the market is not pricing in a cut for May, and that's not because of Powell, I don't think, or his stance. It's just because of the 2-year. And if this, the next two to 4 weeks are going to be crucial because the Fed meeting's basically a month from now. If this starts to roll over and Powell doesn't cut, if we're below like 3.6 and he doesn't cut by 25 bips, you could definitely say that he's trying to stick it to Trump because that's more than enough room to cut 25 basis points. Fed funds is 4.3, so you'd have plenty of space, I think. That said, if it stays firm, then he doesn't really have a reason to cut. But long end here did have a nice bounce. I do want to say, though, I don't love Friday's action here today for TLT, but this will move. This will exit negative gamma after today, and it's, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's pretty much positive for like the rest of the year, at least as of right now. So interested. I've floated the idea of a summer rally for TLT. That may be the case. We'll see. Again, it's absolutely beaten down. This trade has been one-sided, as you can imagine. We'll see if it gets something going. I'm very interested to see what it does next week, though, because it does flip into positive gamma, which is something that hasn't been in a while. XHB up 2% today. Again, same pattern as everything else. VNQ was really strong this week. Good recovery for real estate, and it actually reclaimed this big weekly level. So good move there. May need to back off on Monday, though. Went straight into the 20 after an extended move, so usually that's going to be a quick sell. XLF strong on the week, although it was kind of finished flat. Yeah, basically flat there. KRE was green on the week though. Again, a lot of that leading the Russell higher. Same thing with KB and XBD managing to close again the week above the 200. So that is hanging on there. Still struggling with these pivots though. Shifting over to commodities here, oil with a good day. I did close out my oil trade, so quick 10% there, 9-10%. I think it could easily go to 65, 66, maybe even higher, maybe even in some sort of zigzag. But you know, a quick 9.5% in 2 days, I'll be happy. I'm happy with that. So quick pop, and we'll see what happens here. I do think it can inch higher. I just wanted to book that. It was kind of a small position anyway. XLE was flying all day long until the last, yeah, it looks like the last really hour. That was up a lot. I know Exxon was ripping. Got back to 108. I really wanted to close the week above 108, but wasn't in the cards. So all these things came off their highs here, but still pretty good bounce here. I'm just take a look at Netflix. Yep, there it is, right at 1,000. So let's see if the conference call knocks it down, but it looks like that's where the dealers want to pin it. Uranium here, a quiet week. CCJ fractionally higher. They are trying to put in flags, but just be aware that they're below. The trend is down on the daily. Like you're below all the moving averages here. So these flags can fail. So just keep that in mind here. Nat gas, definitely weaker. It needs to hold $3 on its next test, but it does have higher lows here. Like it's got higher lows the whole way up. So even though it lost that pretty, nice and pretty structure that it had a nice inside bar, it still has, this is just higher lows here until proven otherwise. And even if it spikes below 3, if it just reclaims it, it can just be weekly consolidation. But I haven't done anything with that space in a while. Dollar index, the only positive this week, literally the only positive is that it didn't make a new low. Like that's the only thing I can think of here. Other than it's so beaten down that maybe it just gets a bit. Look at the RSI was at 25 back here, and now it's 5 points lower. Weekly RSI oversold now too. Last time that led to a pretty good rally, but yeah, it's got to hold this shelf here. It's got to hold this shelf. Gold finally had a red day, but it wasn't by much. Yeah, I mean, so the 310 call sellers on GLD got paid out today. Not by much, they got paid. I'm interested to see though if that dealer interest rolls. There's a level up at 325, and I'm interested to see if that does get up there, or if that rolled over. I believe I talked about this yesterday, but it's up there. If it gets through 310, it can go. It can go there. I know it's stretched already. I know GDX is, but I've seen gold go parabolic before. I've traded through it. It's not something to fade until it tells you to do that. By the way, look at GDXJ here. That's a beautiful rounded bottom. Look at that rounded bottom. I mean, it's a shame that it's only just breaking out now, because if gold does top out, then maybe it does roll down. But yeah, I just wouldn't fade them until it gives a good sell signal. Silver flat here, or not flat, down 47 cents. Again, monthly, technically no damage. All you did was just retest the 20 and retest the breakout. That said, I don't have them. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't have them continuing that much higher right now, specifically silver. Into the summer. It's happened before. I just don't see it. So I'm kind of just neutral on them right now. Platinum, that was flat. Nice rebound the last week or two. Palladium down a little bit. That also had a nice rebound. It's got to clear 1,000. And look at this ridiculous volatility in copper. All the way back to the 50 moving average, and that is a 50% fib retrace too, in 8 days. After being at all-time highs 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, to a 52-week low, and then just wild. Like this isn't not Fartcoin, right? It's copper. Bitcoin, little micro inside bar here, right? Nice little inside pattern. So we'll see if that resolves bull. It's certainly set up to do that. and it's trying to hold above the 50 MA. So if it can do that, you can try to work its way back to 91.5. And again, no real changes here. So again, you're still inside of this channel. We'll see if this becomes another tightening range like that was. And if it is, it can still resolve up. So we'll see what happens next week. Again, short term, technically you have a micro buy signal on the daily. So we could be up Monday, maybe flat Monday and then up Tuesday. But we're getting into, I think cyclically we'll be a little choppy into the end of the month, maybe into early May too. But yeah, we'll see if they pull a trade deal out, or I don't know if Jerome and Trump hit up Dana White and settled in the octagon. But we'll see if the market responds, I guess. Anyways, guys, that's enough. I'll wrap it up here. You guys take care. Have a good weekend. Have a great Easter. Stay tuned. I got an extra video coming for you guys tomorrow to feed the algorithm. Again, you guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you guys all on Monday.